So I figured I'd do a short video. This evening I'm silvering the dial. You can see I've done half of it here. So we start with a clean brass surface, and then I've got some silvering powder, and it's a chemical agent that will turn the brass into a silver color. So you can see in there it's starting to go silver. Now some will say that, oh, you're supposed to do it in circular motion, but I will tell you that going along with the grain yields a much faster result, and I find that I get a nicer color coming through when I use the straight on method. Now there's two powders. There's the actual silvering powder, and then there's a finishing powder. And so here I'm just dabbing a little bit of water just so that I have a moist pad to work with here. And then we just kind of keep moving. Along the dial. And the goal is really you want a nice smooth and even coloring. And just do a little section at a time. And you can see the silver coming through again. Now I am using a decent amount of pressure, which my fingers don't like very much. And again, this stuff is really corrosive, so you want to make sure that you've got protection for your skin. Nearing the last little stretch here, and then I'll go and rinse this, and that will basically deactivate the chemical. And we can go on to the finishing powder. Okay, so I'm gonna go rinse this quick, and then we can kind of see where we're at if we have to go any further. Okay, so I've noticed that we have a few blotches on it that I'm not settled on. So what I'm going to do is go at it again, and this time I am going to use a circular motion to try and get that kind of evened out a little bit. Now I think too that the level of sanding that is done is going to play a fairly big part in this whole process. So now I've gotten between 11 and 3. I think. No. Sorry. 9 and 3. And I'm going to keep going a little bit here, and then I'm going to rinse it again and see where we're at for evenness. Now, the finishing powder might help kind of balance things out a little bit. I'm not 100% sure what its purpose is. For all I know, it might lock in the silver a little bit. I haven't done enough research on it to see how it all works. This was a dial that originally came in with a movement, and it was ruined because the owner had used too aggressive of a cleaner, and in turn had damaged the finish on the dial quite badly. I'm nearing the end here. I'm really hoping that... I've heard mixed things about this particular powder, so we'll see how this all turns out. I know I got good results on the Tempest Fugit dial, which I'll show in a bit here, but so again, I will go and rinse this and we'll see where we're at. So I've moved on to the finishing powder. This stuff is a lot finer. I was able to get the silvering rather balanced. So we'll see how this turns out. And I'm hoping that it turns out as nice as the other piece that I did for this particular dial. You get a good workout in your arm and fingers doing this. Once we're done with this finishing powder, again, we'll go and rinse it. So our finish polish is done. And now we're going to lacquer the dial surface with the lacquer that comes in the kit. And I usually do around 3 coats. It's fast drying. Now, this one didn't turn out quite as nice as I had hoped. Don't get me wrong, it looks 1,000 times better than what it was. Before we did this silvering, you could see that a lot of the black had come and washed out and bled into the grain of the dial. And of course this makes for a really ugly dial. It just is not attractive, and the cleaner that the owner had used had also dissolved some of the silvering away, which is why we're redoing this dial. Now, this is a Ergos dial that has come off of a kit clock. The owners are basically, they've paid to have it overhauled and everything, and they're going to give it away to somebody. So I'm just kind of trying to do what I can to make it look presentable, and bring it back to some of its original appearance. Now, here is the other piece that I did. I did this one earlier today, and it turned out absolutely marvelous. I have absolutely no complaints about it. And then the chapter ring obviously goes here. So I think this will be a big improvement. We don't have them ugly black rings that are embedded in it anymore. And so this lacquer will evaporate, and then once it's evaporated, I can go ahead and put on another coat of lacquer. And when this arrived, it had leaked all over the inside of the package. I lost half of my bottle of lacquer, so and it wrecked. It just made a complete mess of everything inside that box. So I was a little bit miffed, to say the least, but luckily there's enough of the lacquer to get the dial all done. So I'll show you the product that I'm using. Now, for my customers that are just customers and don't repair clocks themselves, I do have some followers that do repair clocks, and they have joined in the adventure. So here is the Horosilv. This is for silvering brass on dials and chapter rings, and it's a decent sized jar. It's glass, which is always nice. And then we have the Horo finish, and again, same size jar, glass again, and then we have the lacquer. Now this kit was a full kit that came from the UK. I had to get it from Cousins, and it originally had one of the crayons that you melt and you use to fill in the actual engraved numbers and minute ring. But unfortunately, due to the lacquer leaking, you can actually see the crayon had kind of got underneath here. but it had melted the crayon and just was a goopy mess. So I've tossed the crayon, and eventually we'll maybe get another one, but right now I'm in no rush to do so. My main concern was getting the chapter ring done. So got a few little visitors here. I will pull out. Problem with using cotton balls is they sometimes leave little friends behind. So this is dry now. So we'll go ahead and do our other coat. And just kind of work my way around. This stuff is quite nasty. It has quite an odor to it. Now, in my reading, I have read that sometimes if you're using a solvent lacquer, that you will get the black coming out of the numbers and stuff like that if you've re-waxed them. This is a problem, of course, and in my reading, several guys have recommended spraying it with a spray lacquer, and I see no problem in this. You know, whatever works, whatever gives you a nice clean finish is what I would use. But I will keep lacquering this. I'll do a couple more coats because it is a chapter ring, so I'll probably do 2 more coats. Normally I just do 3, but being that it's a chapter ring, I'll do 4. And I'm actually going to switch away from the cotton balls because I'm getting tired of the finish that it's leaving. They're leaving little remnants everywhere. So I will switch my pads out and opt for a better applicator. But I hope that whoever has watched this or is going to watch it is going to enjoy it, and if you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them. And as far as that goes, if you haven't already, please like and follow. And I hope everybody's staying safe during this COVID thing. And I think that's about it. So I will leave you all on that note. And of course, I will post pictures once this is all done and back together and on the dial plate. And once it's all back in the clock and back in the owner's home, I will again post a picture. Thanks again.